Welcome to another wonderful day of reading with me. My mission is to teach about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and its lifestyle, beliefs, and practices. And the Book of Mormon is foundational to understanding this faith. Whether you're on the outside of it looking in or the inside of it looking out, the Book of Mormon is an incredible key to understanding this faith. Now, I don't really like to get too caught up in exactly what was Joseph Smith's character and exactly how did he go about translating the Book of Mormon, although I've studied much on those things, and I think they are interesting, but they are not what my testimony of the Book of Mormon is about. My testimony of this book is because it testifies of Jesus Christ and does a beautiful job of it. And when I hear people criticizing the Book of Mormon, they always get fixated on exactly what detail of Joseph Smith's life should nullify my testimony, or some detail about how the translation process took place, or how they think it was plagiarized and that should nullify my testimony. And people who say those kinds of things just do not understand how a person comes to testimony of the Book of Mormon. All of those questions have faithful answers, and some of them just have not been thoroughly answered, and I'm okay with that. But my testimony of the Book of Mormon rises and falls, and by the way, it's all rising, on the merit of the book itself, the wonderful doctrine it teaches, the way it draws people to Christ, all that it prepares my heart, mind, and soul to receive from God, and everything that it instructs me on as I live my life. I've built a life on it, and that would be a ridiculous thing to say if it were just a book of fiction or some con man that plagiarized something. Like, that would be insane for thinking people to build their lives upon. And I do build my life on this book and all of the wonderful doctrines that have sprung out from it and the church that is built on it. So I'm just starting off with that as a strong testimony. Now, this chapter that we're going to be reading, which is 2 Nephi 24, is the very end of a series of chapters where Isaiah is quoted. So as I said in my last episode, at the end of today's episode, we will earn this beautiful golden Amazon, cheap plastic but beautiful gold trophy for all of our hard work to get through to get through Isaiah. And if you've missed any of those previous chapters or any of my other previous chapters, see my Book of Mormon playlist. Now today, being at the end of the Isaiah chapters, we're going to see some more about that pride is destruction. Pride causes so much destruction, and wickedness and pride are almost synonymous. They're bound up with one another. Even if someone is righteous, trying and thinking that they're righteous, if they're full of pride, then they've already corrupted the well. They've already put a dead monkey in the bottom of that well, and it's stinky. And so pride has to go for righteousness to exist. And let's just start with a couple of fun quotes on pride. So we've all heard pride comes before the fall. So true. Yeah, and that comes from Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before the fall. I also like this quote by C.S. Lewis that says, "For pride is spiritual cancer. It eats up the very possibility of love or contentment or even common sense." That is so true. Pride blinds people. They can't even think because all they're doing is defending their own thin, tenuous position. And I like this quote by John Maxwell, a leadership expert as well, where he said, "Leaders who fail to prune their pride will meet demise." That's not a guess, it's a guarantee. With pride, it's not a matter of if we will fall, but when. There are no exceptions. And I will put those quotes in the description below if you want to refer back to them. But meanwhile, we're going to read chapter 24, that talks about the devastating consequences of ambition, the audacity of pride and its aftermaths, and it has a really fun taunt song that is aimed in the direction of a fallen king, which is really symbolic for Lucifer and his followers. So this taunt song is kind of a, ha ha, you fell, ooh, who knew you could fall? So it's kind of fun. Okay, let's go ahead and read chapter 24. Let's start with the italicized summary. Israel will be gathered and will enjoy millennial rest. Oh, that sounds lovely. Lucifer will be cast out of heaven for rebellion. Israel will triumph over Babylon, which is the world. Israel are the covenant followers of Christ. Babylon is the world, as in the evil part of the world. And this is comparable to Isaiah 14. Verse 1, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. I like this first, just this reminder that the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. One of my favorite books/movies is Elie Wiesel's book, The Trial of God, and you can find the movie of it, and I highly recommend you do. I think it's called God on Trial. So the movie is God on Trial, and the book is The Trial of God, or maybe it's vice versa, but it's based on his actual experience in a prison camp where there was a mock trial given of God, where the Jews put God on trial for breaking his covenant with them. And at the end of the movie/book, they conclude that God is guilty of breaking the covenant. But then at the end, they return to their prayers for the evening as usual, which is just fascinating. It's such a thought-provoking book to consider that surely the Jews feel totally abandoned in some ways by God. And yet this is a reminder that the Lord will yet choose Israel. So I am excited for that day when the Jews can see their Savior and can enjoy safety, and to see that covenant be fulfilled. I really look forward to that day because I feel bad for how the Jewish people, I feel awful for how the Jewish people have been treated. Okay, verse 2, the people shall take them and bring them to their place, yea, from far unto the ends of the earth. And they shall return to their lands of promise, and the house of Israel shall possess them, and the land of the Lord shall be for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives unto whom they were captives, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So the tables are going to turn. The covenant people will be protected, and those who once put them in captivity will be their servants. Verse 3, it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. I know the problem of evil is so upsetting to, well, really everyone on this planet. Who is not upset by the fact that evil things happen to good people and that there's just so much abuse and hardship and heartache in the world, not just natural causes and people's own choices, but also by people who are genuinely persecuting and enslaving and hurting other people. But that day will end. And of course, we need to do our part to help that day to end. But ultimately, the Lord will be the one to give us rest from our sorrow and from fear and from hard bondage. Okay, verse 4, it shall come to pass in that day that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? Okay, this next few verses, it's verse 4 through 23, is kind of fun. It is a taunt song or a satirical dirge for the Lord's people to sing when the king of Babylon dies, celebrating his downfall. So I've never really thought that that was a very Christ-like way to act when someone else falls, is to gloat. Because even the children of Israel, as they left Egypt, they were told that it was wrong for them to cry. Well, I think this is in some Jewish teachings. It was wrong for them to celebrate, that the Egyptians died in the Red Sea, that they were supposed to have a sense of appropriate sorrow, even, that their enemies had just experienced mass destruction. And I think that's interesting. So I don't know that we're really necessarily going to taunt Babylon when it falls, but maybe Isaiah just really had a lot of fun writing this. And let's admit, we all have shower thoughts where we're thinking, oh, wouldn't I love to say this to this person? Or when they finally get theirs, won't it be so great to see it? So anyway, it's great. It's a taunt. It's a satirical dirge for the people to sing when the king of Babylon dies, celebrating his downfall. So verses 4 through 23 is this taunting of the great and terrible Babylon as it falls. Okay, so this is what we might say tauntingly to Babylon. Oh, has the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased? The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and also the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no feller has come up against us. So even the trees are going to be so happy that Babylon has fallen, that now there's peace and rest and no one persecuting. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations, and they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? So all these strong, supposedly, players in this are weak and falling, and they're all experiencing that. And it's, anyway. Okay, verse 11, thy pomp is brought down to the grave. The noise of thy vials is not heard. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So that is the caution against extreme prideful ambition. Because of course, Lucifer's saying, I can have all this power, I can do this, but ultimately he falls. And that's really so important for us to remember, because it looks like evil's having a heyday right now. But a wonderful quote from Mulan, which I just watched last night, that applied correctly, 4 ounces can stop 1,000 pounds. And that is righteousness right there. Our little 4 ounces, humility, patience, righteousness can stop 1,000 pounds, which is this incredible heavy weight of evil that is crushing the world. But if we hold up our 4 ounces with grace, we can stop that 1,000 pounds, because ultimately the Lord will be on our side, and ultimately he will prevail. Verse 16, they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and shall consider thee, and shall say, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Again, this is that taunt, that satirical dirge against Babylon who fell. And made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, and opened not the house of the prisoners. All the kings of the nations, yea, all of them lie in glory, every one of them in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and the remnant of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, and that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land, and slain thy people, and the seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquities of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off Babylon, the name and remnant, the son and the nephew, saith the Lord. And I will also make it a possession for the bittern and the pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith the Lord of hosts. So that's the end of that satirical dirge where Babylon is taunted, and I think that's nice. It's nice to imagine the day when righteousness will have not just a covert upper hand, but an overt upper hand. It will be very clear that righteousness is prevailing, and that day will come, because indeed 4 ounces can stop 1,000 pounds when applied correctly. And that is what we must do as humble followers of Jesus Christ. Verse 24, the Lord of hosts hath sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have purposed, so it shall stand. So the Lord has determined to do what he will do, and he is unstoppable. We cannot and will not do anything that will get in his way. Ultimately, he's patient, and he's going through his plans step by step as he has purposed to do, and he will do it. We can be assured of that. Verse 25, that I will bring the Assyrian in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth, and this is the hand that is stretched out among all nations. For the Lord of hosts has purposed, and who shall disannul? and his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? So just because we don't like God's timing, which I haven't met too many people that love it until after the fact, and then you're like, oh yeah, that kind of made sense. But until it is after the fact, most of us are like, oh, this is taking forever. But we can count on that what he has purpose to do, he will do. Verse 28. In the year that King Ahaz died was this burden. Rejoice not thou, whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fierce, fiery flying serpent. Okay, so there's that. Verse 30, and the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. And I will kill thy root with famine, and he shall slay thy remnant. Howl, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Palestina art dissolved. And there shall come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. What shall then answer the messages of the nations? That the Lord hath founded Zion, and the poor of his people shall trust in it. Again, the end of this chapter is strong. And that the Lord hath founded Zion, and the poor of his people shall trust in it. And I think when it says poor of his people, it's that, like in the Beatitudes, the poor in spirit, those who are honestly stripped of pride, honestly striving to follow Christ and to trust in God, that they can trust in his timing and is what he is providing for them. So again, I go back to a question that I posed at the beginning of the last episode, which is, how can we see Jesus Christ in the Book of Mormon? How can we increase our relationship and feel his love? Well, here I feel it because we are being warned of what to do and not to do. Not only that, we're even being given a picture of the triumph that is to come. And I love the quote by R Holland, one of the apostles of the Lord. He said that being on the Lord's side is just like this. If you know that a particular ball game is going to be won by a certain team, why are you going to feel stressed during the game? If you knew that it was going to be won, or say it had already been played out and it already was won and you knew, and then you're just watching a taped version of that game, why would you feel stressed if you see the other side scoring a lot of points? You don't need to do that because you know who's going to win. And that is how the message of Isaiah really, which is God is in charge and he's going to win. All we need to do is be on his side. So my question for you and for me is, what can we do to be on God's side today? Because a lot of the daily activities in our life are just kind of basic. You know, you do the dishes and you do errands and whatever. That just is the underlying heartbeat of life we can never get rid of, is just all these little tasks. But it's how we go about doing those things. Are we thinking pure thoughts? Are we striving to have a good attitude, to look upwards, to feel the Spirit, to be kind to those people in our path, but also strong when we need to stand up for what's right? Are we doing whatever we're doing that's just the humdrum things of life? Are we doing them with an eye focused on the glory of God and with trying to have a Christ-like character? That is how we live a life consecrated to him, and then being open to the Holy Spirit to guide us step by step. Because of course, as the whatever brown material hits the fan, we want to be found on God's side. Okay, I now present to us this trophy that we officially finished Isaiah, and we can now move on to the rest of the Book of Mormon and find out what exciting narratives and lessons await, and see more of how Jesus Christ shows up in the Book of Mormon. I look forward to studying with you again next time.